You decide to stay overnight at the very beginning of the mine. You set up your camp. You actually had quite a good night. A relaxing one. One of few in the last couple of weeks. For the first couple of hours you're staying at this location, everything seems to be tranquil. The ones of you who are up and keeping an eye on everything, the only thing you can hear is just the night sounds of the forest surrounding you. Occasional scream of a bat, the wind in the trees. The only thing you can smell is, well, the smell of rain. It's quite refreshing, actually, and just adds to the relaxation of this night. Who is up right now?
Well, I imagine I'm probably still up. I was supposed to be on the first watch after all, and again, even though my ear is starting to feel a little better, it still is uncomfortable to lie down, so I'm fine staying up a little longer, I think, as I look into the darkness.
What are you guys up to? Are you talking? Or are you just sitting there enjoying the silence?
I suppose I would attempt to make idle conversation with Karen, even though my mood is not quite as jovial as it was when we started the journey.
It's a very strange thing to make conversation with someone who you ultimately have very little in common with. Very different kinds of parents, very different kinds of war experiences, very different kinds of life trajectories, save for being tossed into this mess together. Carwin is, of course, polite, especially in these circumstances. It would be utterly rude of him to be a jerk in this moment. But you still can't get around some of those things.
Well, it would be awfully silly, wouldn't it, if we came all this way and didn't see anything? I'm not entirely sure if I'd prefer that or not.
Are you the kind of person who craves excitement regardless of context? I don't know. Give me a safe and boring day over the wrong kind of excitement anytime.
I smile a little at that, saying, I think we have one thing in common there, I reckon. I too would, if I'm honest with you, have preferred a quieter homecoming. All I want is to hopefully propose to my fiancée, maybe get married, and then, well, I don't know. I'd like to stay in Hulkin, but unfortunately my father seemed to have other ideas.
I don't understand that. Stay in the village? I get it for people like me without any options, but you're a doctor. You can go to the big city. You can follow your dreams to whatever town, city, university.
I suppose it could be nice, but I don't know, Karen, I don't know. What's the point? What do I need there? I saw so many people... My expression darkens a little as I look to the fire. I just saw so many people die before they even got a chance to have their dream, you know? I kind of feel I should be grateful for anything, really. I don't know.
That's all the more reason to chase it.
I suppose, but... I don't know if I can ask my fiancée to drop all her life and move with me to London.
Maybe. But she's agreed to marry you. I would assume that means she knows who you are and what your ambitions are. And pardon if this is just prying supposition, but based on what I've seen with the way that you interact with your father, I'm sure she's seen that too. You're telling me someone who has those kind of feelings for you wouldn't be willing to leave Halkin behind? Is there really something here for her, too, that she couldn't find elsewhere?
You know, I don't really know. I suppose the awkward thing is we haven't actually had a proper conversation for, well, the last 5 years, 6 years. I can't really remember how long it's been.
Well, look, God willing, we've got a victor on our side, so fingers crossed there. God willing, you'll be able to have that conversation when this is done. But all I would say is someone who doesn't have your kind of options. But all I would say for someone in your position is don't let the teeniest attachments to people and places keep you locked down. There are those of us who would literally claw our way through the earth to get out of this town and onto something bigger. So when someone who has your kinds of education and pedigree and opportunity decides to stick around, I don't get that.
Well, I suppose you put it in a way I hadn't really thought of. Still, I'm not even really sure, even with all the opportunities you say I have, I can do it. After all, I've failed so many people already. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a doctor.
Isn't that part of being a doctor? I mean, you can't save everybody, right? They told us in mining disasters, when they're hauling people up out of the soot and the smoke, that the doctors will take a look at everyone being pulled forward and they'll say, that person would require entirely too much of our help to save. In the time that I could spend on that one person, I could fix these 10 people. And they'll just let them go.
Cowan, you finished that sentence. Almost. You're kind of caught up. You're sitting on the ground right now. And you've dealt with your fair share of accidents in the mines. You've seen people die in there. You've had rock falls. You've had floodings. You've had dangerous gas leaks. And suddenly, for a moment, you feel the ground shake. Just ever so slightly. Your palm pressed against the ground is picking up this tiny little rumble. And you've felt that before. You felt that right before one of the biggest accidents happened in the mine that you were working at. 7 people died. You crushed to death by a collapsing tunnel. What do?
It's entirely reflexive at that point. One of the things about working in dangerous jobs is being trained in safety procedures such that you program them into the reptile part of your brain. There's no room for thinking. When you feel that rumble, it could be any one of 1,000 things, but they're all bad. And when you're in mine school, the first thing they teach you to do is to get low, throw yourself to the ground in case there's going to be an overpressure wave of smoke or whatever. You take in the biggest breath of clean air you can and you hold it and you let it out slowly. If there's an explosion, it's going to suck all that oxygen up and then push it all back out. And you want to have a stable balance in your lungs lest they have the air ripped out of them. So whether or not my dear doctor friend can hear or feel any of these things, the next thing he sees is Carwin throwing himself to the ground, sucking in a chirped breath, and reaching reflexively for the side of his body, his right side near his hip, where the safety lamp would normally be, where he could check and see the condition of the air.
Cowan, not long after, you look over to the mouth of the mine where, well, 2 of your friends are currently sleeping. And you start seeing small pebbles falling from the top of the mine down onto their faces. They're not waking up. It's odd. The rumbling is getting more and more intense, but they're not waking up. Maybe they're sleeping too deeply. Maybe they're not hearing it. But all you know is that they are in danger now. They are closer to the tunnel and actually kind of in the tunnel, in the beginning of the tunnel, the mouth of it, than you are.
This isn't normally a question that I have to ask, but given what we've seen in the last few hours, you're referring to my actual friends, not figures from my past or my imagination, right?
Yes.
Good, because Carwin's sanity score, you never know. Well, with that in mind, then it's immediately to my feet, like a sprinter in the blocks. My own safety secured, doing the quick math of can I get there fast enough before whatever's going to come out of that mine comes out of that mine. I'm yelling forward with my voice, but backwards to Richard, imploring with clear but firm language that I need his assistance, not panic, but practiced safety, and running over towards the two. Between my two gentlemen friends, which of them is larger? I would assume it's Byrne.
I would say so too.
The only reason that I ask is because I've had a good look at Richard's muscles or his physical capabilities over the last few days, and I'm not taking any chances with that. So, without even looking back behind me to see that Richard is following along, I am sprinting towards Byrne, and assuming I can make it there without any incident, my next move is to dig my arms up underneath his, pulling him back, like with my elbows locked around his armpits, and start hauling him back away from the mouth of the mine.
All right. Well, as you're doing that, Richard, you're seeing all of this. What do? You cannot hear any rumble or see any pebbles fall. You have no idea what's going on right now.
Initially I frown, but again, I trust Karen, and even though I don't know what's happening, I assume he must have seen something, maybe even seen something similar to what I've seen, and he thinks the others are in danger, so I'll just nod, and maybe not as urgently as him, but still quite quickly, I will run to try and grab Owen and just pull him far away from the mouth of the cave, saying, "What is it, Karen? What do you see? What do you see?"
Well, given time to explain, I revert to mining vocabulary, barfing out a list of safety procedures or possible accidents that are likely well outside Richard's expertise. But by the tone and the gesture, I think the overall vibe of mine and dangerous would come across.
I just nod, and as I'm pulling on Owen, I start trying to rouse him awake. "I'm so sorry, but Reverend Owen, you need to wake up!"
What is it?
Byrne, for his part, has a much less pleasant awakening. If he wakes up because he's being dragged through the rocks, great. If not, that's not the concern that Carwin has in this moment.
I assume I wake up.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
What's happening? I start to try and get myself free of whatever is attacking me.
"Reverend Owen, I'm so sorry, but Karen says something's happening in the mine. We need to get you away."
What? Something's happening? I try to get up and stumble out.
Owen, you are seeing very big rocks fall now. The entire tunnel is collapsing in front of your eyes.
I would say, given the speed at which I'm moving, the very moment that Byrne starts to struggle, that's going to be bad news for our momentum. So I imagine that as he's fighting with me, we kind of get tangled up in our own limbs, so I get to view this rock fall from a newfound prone position adjacent my law enforcement friend. And for Carwin, it's just, it's not even a question that requires a verbal answer. The fact that he's looking at it and looking at Byrne and looking at it, and that should be self-evident. That whatever he's seeing is obvious in his eyes, in the fear, in the seriousness with which he's taking the situation. It's, again, that reflexive, trained face. This isn't the always late to things Carwin that they met 2 days ago. This isn't the nervous about inspecting things around the asylum Carwin. This is the most professional and serious that Byrne has seen him ever.
As I see that in your eyes, I look back, but just very shortly kind of just flinging my head back, but not really waiting or listening or looking for anything. But then I look back at you and I say, "What are you waiting for, lad? Let's get out." And I start trying to pull you and back.
Have the two of us made sufficient progress to be safe from the mouth of the mine?
Yes, you have. You are very close to the mouth, but you just about made it as the whole tunnel collapses before your eyes, Karen.
It is my sincere hope that the other two have also made it clear of this mess.
For a moment, just for a moment, as the rocks are falling down and the entire structure of the mine is collapsing upon itself, you hear the screams again. Those screams that have been haunting you for years after the accident happened. The screams of the 7 men that you were not able to save, or no one else were able to save. It's almost like just saying your name.
Am I in a state of mental clarity such that I could put together those facts and know that this mine is A, abandoned, and B, not in the south of Wales, and C, that the people who are calling my name are dead? Or am I in this?
See, what is your sanity points at?
Not great. I have 36.
You are very much convinced that this is true. You know logically that it can't be, but this is so real to you. This is so real to you. This is you can hear them. You know you can see this. You know this is happening.
Then Carwin has broken into fits, knowing that Richard and the others are safe. He's screaming instructions about, call the mine foreman, get the safety officer, alert the fire brigade. The emergency dig team needs to be roused up. They're still in there and we can get them out. And just rapid fire instructions coming straight out of the textbooks he was given by the Ministry of Mines.
Having helped Reverend Owen up and looked at the scene and noticing that actually nothing seems to be happening, I kind of just look to Owen and then look to Karen and I just say, Reverend, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on.
I'm still waking up. What? Okay, everybody, calm down. For the love of God.
I start now to actually listen and try to perceive and try to understand what it is that Karen sees, but now, as he starts going a bit more frantic, I will try to grab a hold of your shoulders. Calm it, man. We're all out of the cave.
I would like to physically resist Burn and attempt to run to the mouth of the mine and start moving the rubble that I can see.
So how do you want to resist him?
I'm not going to punch him in the face or anything. I was hoping I could just maybe shoulder him off.
Okay. What is your strength?
80.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Burn?
65.
Okay. Well, you do that with ease. I mean, Burn is a big guy, but you are stronger and younger and more agile than him. So that's not an issue.
And does the illusion hold as I arrive at the rubble that, depending on who in this group you ask, may or may not exist?
As you arrive at what is left of the mine, you see a hand. Actually, more than a hand. As you get closer, you see an entire upper body sticking out from underneath one of the rocks. Recognizable face.
Well, it's an awful idea to start pulling someone out of rubble when it could be entrapping a wound and you don't want to aggravate anything or lead to injuries. So I'm just staring down at my friend here. No, it's going to be fine, Charlie. Don't worry. The safety officer's coming. We got the dig team. I need you to, can you feel anything below your waist? Are you okay? I'm going to start moving these rocks. I'm going to get you out of here, all right, bud?
I'm moving up behind him, as I've been kind of flung to the side a bit, but I catch my balance and I start going up to see what it actually is that he is doing. Is he moving any actual rocks and talking to anything?
No, right now he's just staring at the ground, talking to nothing.
And you keep talking to me if you go, okay? Like, you're not going to go to sleep. We're not going to close our eyes. You're just going to stay right with me here, all right? You can take some deep breaths with me. It'll be all right. So we've got help coming right now. I just need to make sure that you can't close your eyes. We're not going to go to sleep, nothing like that, all right? It's going to be fine.
I look back at Owen and Richard and I shrug.
I shake my head. I stride right up to Carwin and I grab him by both shoulders, and at a point now where even I am starting to feel unsettled by... Well, this isn't the first time Carwin has seen something. I don't think, but... Well, it's not the first time one of us has seen something that isn't there. I am frightened. I am concerned. And I am speaking in my most soothing but commanding voice that I can, the kind of thing that I would have reserved for the special lectures when I was standing in the pulpit, when someone had been found stealing from the church and I was trying to call out who it was. I am trying to get my voice through to him. I'm saying, Carwin! Carwin! For Christ's sake, listen to my voice. There is nothing there. Nothing. I will try to make a persuade roll.
Yeah.
And I am able to roll a 68.
Well, that's enough. Carwin, you are pulled out of this illusion that you're in. Suddenly the face in front of you, well, the entire scene in front of you gets muddled. It's like just when you're waking up from a dream, something is telling you that this is not real. There's something off about the situation. And as you hear the voice of Owen, you start to come back to sanity again. It's almost paternal to you. There's something very safe about the energy that Owen has right now.
It is a profoundly awkward thing to be both horribly embarrassed by falling victim to what you have seen people already succumb to, combined with the post-adrenaline crash as my heart stops racing and I stop sucking down those desperate breaths. It's that mixture of, I guess we would call it shame and exhaustion that washes over me. I don't turn back to Father Owen. I just sink down to my knees, staring down into the dirt, and mutter, maybe loud enough for him to hear, maybe not. What is this place?
I don't know if I hear him, but even if I did, I am unable to answer. I am going through a spiritual moment right now. I am casting about, walking left and right, looking up to the mountains, fists clenched, wanting to shout out. And that's what I do. What is this? Who's behind this? Is this the devil? Why are we being tested like this? I will not fall for it. If you show me Esther, or you show me any of those boys that died over in Europe, I will not succumb. You will not get inside my head. Whatever this is, we will stop it. The people you have taken, we will recover them.
I stand wringing my hands nervously as he is going on.
Come on, Carwin, get to your feet. This isn't going to end until we're out of here, and we're not leaving without those children.
I look on slightly awkward at this scene, but Owen's words do affect me. He always has known what to say. He's always been the one who can make the dark seem less terrible. And I just nod and I just start ever so slightly looking into the darkness of the mine, the darkness of the mountain, just trying to see anything at all.
That must be the way down there. They're trying to put us off. They're trying to drive us away. But we're not going to be scared of them. They're not going to beat us. We are men of Halkin.
We are men of Halkin, we are. But we've all started seeing these things. It started with the one in the ground, and then what you saw, Richard, and now you, Karin. I think perhaps you are right to assume that you will be tested, Father. I'm only saying.
Oh, I guarantee that something will try. And I may stumble. But those children in there are our children. They are the children of our community, the people we know and love.
Someone is starting off something foul, but whoever they are human. A human wouldn't, as a spirit, would not leave behind a lantern like that.
No, that's true, Bern, that's true. Maybe we should just... I don't know, what should we do? Should we wait a little longer, or should we just go down there now? I don't know what's safe.
We go down there now. It's going to be dark down there at night. It's going to be dark down there during the day. We've got lights. All clues point to whatever it is being down there.
I'm a little bit hungry, is all.
Well, we eat while we move. That's why we bought packeted things.
Owen's right. Let's go. Come on, Karen. On your feet. You've seen the worst. You can conquer anything. I believe in you. Come on.
Before you go, that speech that Owen just gave you was so inspiring that you're gonna recover 5 sanity points, all of you. There was, even though maybe you might not be very religious like Owen, there is something so fatherly and so inspiring about what he just said that it just gave you just a tiny boost of confidence or energy to enter the mine.
I feel refreshed as I take that into consideration, and yes, I go and grab a lantern and I get ready to go down to the dark, because he's right. We need to stop this now. Enough of this silliness. I won't be afraid again. I won't be a coward again.
What is the order in which you enter the mine, and how many lights do you have with you? Do you all have a lantern with you?
We all brought flashlights with us, so... and spare batteries to boot. It was suggested, so we should be set.
And what is the order in which you enter the mine?
As I'm on this crusading course, I would suggest I'm probably going first.
I'll follow behind him in second place.
Well, I wouldn't want Karen to go last, and I was quite happy where I was, taking the rear, so I'll probably do that. Grumbling a bit about how nice it would be to warm some beans and maybe fry some of the bacon in the lard.
Under other circumstances, I might protest about this marching order, as it were, given that my 2 gentlemen friends are not experts in traversing mines. But at this moment, although I have been refreshed by Father Owen's speech, neither the man of science nor the man of God can explain to me what is going on here. So my enthusiasm is a bit tepid. I am more than happy to be in the middle of this pack.
The mine is, as you expected, incredibly dark. There is no source of light down here, except for your torchlights. You enter with caution. You know that aside from this just being a dangerous environment, this is an old mine that probably hasn't been expected for years and years. You also know that there's something wrong going on in this area. All of the hallucinations, the things that happen but doesn't happen anyway, the gory imagery you're exposed to is making all of you very alert. The mine itself is pretty big. It's, for you, Karen, this is actually one of the biggest mines you've been in. And it seems like the years have not been that harsh to it, or maybe it's just been constructed in a very solid fashion. You're able to navigate pretty easily. At least in the beginning, you have room enough for all of you to walk with no issues at all inside. The only issue that you do encounter is the occasional rock that you can't see because it's completely dark in there. You may stumble a little bit, but that's all. However, it seems like because of the size of the mine, you are walking forever to a point where you're not really sure if you've been there for hours or the entire rest of the night. It just seems like it keeps going and going and going. Is any of you going to do anything?
I'm going to keep an eye on Owen and try and see if there's any signs of anything being disturbed. There has to be. If the children were brought down here, there'll be a footprint or a shoe or a broken beam or a dust print or something. There'll be something. There must be.
Are you going to make a roll for it?
Yes. I shall roll my spot hidden. That is a 60 under 70.
Okay. Nothing really stands out to you, although if you do look for prints in the dust, you do see something that looks like footprints of rats. And now that you're actually taking a closer look at it, there's a lot of them. A lot. And they're big. It's not normal sized rats. And that's kind of what throws you off a little bit. It looks like rats, but surely not of this size. Is it another rodent? Is it another animal? And why are there so many?
I don't say anything, but Bern or Karen would probably notice that at one point I just stop with my torchlight on these tracks and I'm just clearly staring at them.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's that you found there?
These look like animal footprints. Rats, maybe, but not. They couldn't be this size. They shouldn't be this size, rather.
I kneel down as well and I look with my lantern. Those are rat tracks, but very, very big. And I start looking around a bit warily in the space, listening also for any squeaks or sound of footsteps.
You don't hear anything right now, but are you going to make a spot hidden roll?
Sure. 34 under 60.
Okay. You don't hear anything, but when you take a good look around in the darkness, you see small lights, like eyes, staring back at you from the darkness. They flicker almost as if they're blinking. First you see one in the distance. Then you see another pair. And then another pair. And 5 more turns up. 10 more turns up.
Ach, they're all around us, they are. There's lovely.
Wait, careful, Bern. What do you... tell us exactly what you're seeing.
Don't you see that glittering in the dark? It's the eyes there are.
When I look to where he's gesturing, do I also see the glittering of these eyes?
You do.
I'm not very shy.
All right, Reverend, just to confirm, I can see them as well. There's definitely rats here.
Well, we have sticks, don't we? And yes, I know they're large if they're anything like the rats we saw before, but we also found that they were very easy to break.
Owen, as you say this, you feel a very unpleasant pinch on your ankle. And as you look down, a rat has attached itself to your foot with its teeth.
Ah! Little devil! I'll swing my walking stick down at it.
As you do that, you feel another pinch on your other foot. Actually, you feel several. You see 3 rats on your right foot, trying to attack you, bite you, scratch you.
I'm going to clench my jaw, grip my teeth, close my eyes, and make a power roll to see whether I can resist the urge to strike out, and instead ask my companions if what I'm feeling is really there. And I roll a 5.
Well, with the power of Almighty God, you manage. You are very prepared for this situation since you've seen all of your companions in situations like this before where they're hallucinating. So you know exactly what to do. And that's what you do.
Yeah. Are the creatures at my feet and on my leg actually there, Burn?
They are.
They're all around us now. They're closing in.
Well, help me get them off then.
I'll just start stomping at them.
As you do that, you realize that now the entire ground is covered by fur. The squeaking noises, the shuffling of their feet get more and more intense. The smell gets more and more intense. In the darkness, you see what is almost too unbelievable to be true. There's almost a wave of rats, of little blinky eyes coming towards you. You hear the squeaking noise, you hear the shuffling of the feet, you hear everything. And you know that this situation is not an hallucination. This is actually real. These rats are the same rats you saw in the house a couple of days ago. They're everywhere. Thousands of them. I would like to know your dexterity, all of you.
55.
35.
70.
55.
So now we are in a battle sequence. Richard, as you have the highest dexterity, you can start. What are you going to do?
For a moment, I am overcome with the weight of the situation, but my hand begins moving to my flashlight. I frown, realizing a lantern would be more useful here. But then I go to just put my hand on my medicinal bag. Do I think I have anything in there? Something that smells bad that would at least disrupt some of these rats. Maybe I could roll Natural World to see if there's something that could disrupt the rats, because I know that rats have a very keen sense of smell.
Sure. Yeah.
30 under 60.
Okay. Well, you do have hydrogen peroxide, which has a pungent smell. It's for cleaning wounds, but in this situation it might become useful in another way.
It might not do much for the greater scheme of things, but at least maybe it'll do something. I just grab it from my bag as I begin retreating, slowly retreating, and just throw it into the mass of rats.
As you try to retreat, you realize that you're actually very, it's very difficult for you to move. There's rats everywhere. It's like walking through mud almost, and they are making it very difficult for you to even take a single step backwards. But you do manage to throw the bottle, and as you do so, you do see that there's a reaction from the rats. Group of them at least perish or disappear, not in front of your eyes, but they run back into the darkness. It has somewhat of an effect.
At least that's something, but again, for the moment, all I can do is try and take a few more steps back. And I guess that will be my action for now.
Right, Owen?
Well, I brought a small bottle of whiskey. I don't tend to drink much of the stuff, but I did think that we would probably be drinking around the campfire as we did for a while yesterday, and I'm sure I've got some left. So it's time to scare these little beasts. Trying to maintain my footing. I am going to do the more complicated than it seems, especially when being bombarded by a tidal wave of rats, of stuffing my handkerchief in the bottle's neck, setting light to it with a book of matches, and then throwing it down the tunnel. I imagine this is going to be challenging, but just striking at them with my walking stick is not going to cut it. I will go, I assume, let's see, what would be a good roll to use here? Probably strength. I don't have an appropriate skill for it. So, alright, let's see.
Because I assume you want to throw it far, right? You don't want to throw it close to any of you.
Well, I don't want to drop it at my feet, but I want it close enough. Probably, I only need to throw it down, like 15 feet away. So, I don't really need much accuracy for this. Okay, I do succeed. I get a 34 out of 55.
Okay. Well, this seems to have a pretty good effect on the rats. They don't like fire. Not many creatures do. You throw the cocktail and it does explode. It's not a big explosion because you didn't have that much alcohol to begin with, but it's definitely enough to make a sizable amount of the rats perish. Some of them catch on fire, some of them manage to run away, and a majority of them don't and are engulfed by the flames and lie dead on the ground.
Even if only a few of them are taken out, it's a sign to these other vermin. They don't fuck with the men of Halkin.
Okay. Cowan.
My only weapon in this moment is a hunting shotgun. And being in the middle and also surrounded by soon fiery rats, I don't know that shooting is the best choice. It might be that I should just wait and see if the fire works before I do something rash.
The fire from the cocktail?
Yes.
Well, the fire is pretty much gone now. It's an alcohol fire, so it evaporates pretty quickly.
Did it do anything to break the horde?
It did, yeah. It did remove a sizable amount of them.
But there are new rats spilling into the void.
Yeah, it's a sizable amount, but there's still quite a few left.
Well, in that case, with due respect to everyone's eardrums, I think, what was the phrase? The men of Halkin will do what the men of Halkin do. So I'll take a bead at the largest clump that I can get a clear shot at without putting any of my compatriots in danger, and pull the trigger.
What are you aiming? Are you just aiming for any rat?
It's a hunting shotgun, so it's fairly light pellet, meant for hunting, a flock of birds, and you'll hit 6 or 7. So I'm going to find the largest clump and just go at that direction. I suppose if our two chemist friends have been aiming in the front, then I should help burn in the rear.
Yeah, I mean, since there's rats literally everywhere, I'm not gonna make you roll for it because you're gonna hit. And you take down around 5 rats. They like get on the ground now. But that's it. And it seems like a drop in an ocean at the moment, but there's not much else you can do, really.
Limited options.
It is, however, enough. The sound alone is enough to make some of the rats disappear into the darkness again. So not only do you kill a bunch of them, but you also make a sizable amount of them disappear into the darkness. Due to your efforts, you are now a little more able to move around on the floor. You have taken out quite a few rats at this point, but there's still a lot of them left. They do not seem to be giving up at any time soon. Burn, it's your turn.
It's like we're dancing a merry dance around each other here now. Firing off things and stomping at these pests. I go following what everyone else is. I mean, I'm trying to stomp them away, and as Carwin fires off his hunting rifle, I will fire off my old trench gun as well. And at another clump, seeing as it makes them run away as well. Trying to keep moving downwards into the mine. Scram! I flinch at the sharp sound and the echoes.
Well, just like with Karen, you managed to take out a few rats and you managed to scare a few of them away. And that's the rats' turn. They are many and they are vicious. You don't have to be an animal expert to know that this kind of behavior from a rat is not normal. They don't attack humans like this. Normally they're pretty scared of humans. But they're crawling up your legs. They're crawling inside your leg pants. They're gnawing holes in your clothes. They're biting and they're scratching. And although a single attack from one rat is nothing to be scared of, there's a lot of teeth and claws on you right now. And especially for you, Owen, they seem to really have it in for you, as both of your legs are now covered in rats. They're crawling up your abdomen. They're trying to make their way into your shirt. And you do take damage from all these attacks because there's a lot of, well, small teeth in your skin. So why don't you roll 1d3?
Okay, I roll a 3.
And that's the damage you take.
I can't stop myself from shouting out in pain as these rodents bite into me and tear at my flesh. But I'm not going to try and run. They can try biting their way through me, but I have faith that myself and my fellow men will stand. We will withstand this, even if we have to crush the skull of every single one of these little bastards.
And the story is, although not as bad as Owen's, the story is pretty much the same for all of you. These rats are many, and despite your efforts, they are. It's impossible to in any way kill all of them. So I want all of you to take also 1d3 damage.
That's 2 for me.
It's 3 for me as well.
1 for me.
Okay. Richard, it's your turn again. You do see that it's easier now to actually maneuver around. You have made a dent into this rat infestation.
I think at this point, I see the horde descending viciously upon Owen, and I need to get him out of there, at least somewhere away, maybe take some pressure off him. So I'm just going to grab Owen and try and use my natural dexterity to get both of us just slightly, maybe against a wall, because surely then they can't surround us so effectively.
So you're trying to move him?
I'm trying to move him and myself into a position where we'll take less damage.
Okay. He's almost stuck to the ground. The rats are weighing him down, pinning him down. These rats are big. And they're not letting go so easily. So you can try and move him, but it will take a strength roll.
Well, I have committed, even though it may be doomed. Let's see. So I roll 96 over 45.
Would it be possible for me to assist him come my turn, which I believe is next or soon enough?
Absolutely. Why don't you make a strength roll? And tell me the difference between your strength and what you roll.
I rolled a 51 under 80, so I succeed by 29 points.
Well, that's enough then.
So as I go to try and haul Owen up as best I can, I naturally just fall to my own knees and just call out, "Karen, help!"
Under other circumstances, I might use this opportunity to poke a little fun at Richard's masculinity, but now is not the time. So seeing him struggling with Father Owen and struggling with the desperateness of the situation, I will lend my strength to that. The plan being that I can get Father Owen up and that Richard can make it to his feet of his own accord. And if I understand Richard's plan correctly, the idea would be to move towards the wall of the cave so that we only have rats coming in 180 degrees of rats as opposed to 360 degrees of rats.
Yes.
So that's my plan then. Yes, I would like to haul Father Owen up with me towards the wall of the tunnel.
All right. Well, in unison, you managed to save Father Owen from the wave of rats, and you managed to shake them off, at least enough for you to be able to move him to the wall, where you're now all standing. And that was all of your turn.
I will apologize later for the excess of aggression I use in brushing the rats off of you.
Oh, yeah, I am, as they say, spitting bullets of rage at this point. But I'm directing it more at the rats than at you. It's a little like pulling a drunk Burn out of the pub when he's had a little too much. I'm there over your shoulder, swinging my fists effectively, saying, "I'm not done with you!" at the rats until you put me down, at which point I'm able to regain some lucidity.
Right, Burn, it's your turn.
Getting a particularly nasty bite on my leg, breaking through. I just reach down, tug at whatever morsel of fur I find, and I just try and throw them off me. I keep stomping at them. It's like losing it now. I'm not even sure where my gun is at this point. I just try and stomp at whatever furry thing that I see, and then moving with the rest of the group towards the wall.
Well, you do, in your rage, you do manage to destroy a few rats that just kind of splatter onto the ground. But it's not a deliberate, thought-through attack. It is just rage. So you only manage to get a few away from you. But you do manage to also move over to the rest of the group. You're now all standing back against the wall, and rats running towards you. And they do as they've always been doing. They latch onto you. They bite you. They scratch you. They burrow into your clothing. So you all take 1d3 damage again.
That is 3.
Yeah, I take another 2 damage.
3 for me as well.
And 2 for me.
Richard, it's your turn.
I think at this point, having managed to get myself to the wall, all I can do is start thrashing at these things, fighting for dear life. And as I do, I am very agitated, and I just find myself screaming nonsense. I find myself suddenly thinking to a weird fact. When we asked Dean where did he take the children, he said, Nobke. Maybe this is Nobke. Maybe we die here in Nobke. Nobke! Nobke! And that's all I'm start yelling to myself as I just try and flail these things away.
As you do, and just as hope seems to be out, it's almost as if the more rats you remove, the more rats pour out of the darkness. They all stop in their pursuit, and they stand up on their hind legs, sniff in the air, and then just as quick as they appear, they disappear into the darkness. All of them. Every single rat except for the dead ones. They run back into the darkness as if someone called them back.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Role-Playing, where we play the campaign The Whispers of the Mountains for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. The Whispers of the Mountains was written by Clara Herbal, who was also our keeper. We were joined by Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games, and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music is from the Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep, Jog-Sothoth, Shub-Niggurath, and Asathoth compilations by our friends at Cryochamber, and the Paleo Wolf album Genesis. Check them all out at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Ludwig Manford, Bob Lange, Julián, and Cameron for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of the Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening. And remember, that is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons, even death may die.